Hi, my name is John from Japanese Knife Imports, and today I'm here to talk to you about our Jin knives. The Jin knives that we carry are something that are very dear to Sara and I. The knife maker who makes them is Tokyo-based, and he's now retired. He's in his, I guess, mid-80s or so. But he's the only knife maker that we work with that started making knives before World War II, which is just spectacular as far as I'm concerned. I think it's insanely cool. And he also has a very unique style of his knives. All of his knives are done entirely by hand by him, from the making of the blade to the making of the handle to the making of the saya. Everything that he does himself. Moreover, he's even made a lot of the machinery that he uses in his shop himself. Really just a fascinating guy. His knives are unique in the sense that they use high-speed steel as their main steel, which is not something you see in kataba single bevel knives a lot. They are carbon steel, so they can rust and they do need to be cared for as such. They also have a really cool lamination of the softer carbon cladding to the high-speed steel, tool steel. It's a line of copper that fits in between the two layers, and so hopefully you'll be able to see that in some of the knives that I'm going to show you here today. So I'm going to start off with the smaller knives that he has, which are these kogatana. Kogatana are little utility knives, and you can see the saya that they come with and the handles and the metal ferrule. And so as we open it up, you can see here what the knife looks like. And again, it's a single bevel knife, as are all of the knives we have from him, and they're all made for right-handed users. So you can see the bevel is on the right side and it's hollow ground on the back side. And there's a cool copper line that kind of runs up here in between the cladding and the core steel. I've used and sharpened a bunch of his knives, and in fact, this very knife is one that belongs to myself and Sara. They are pretty easy to sharpen, a little bit more difficult than some other carbon steels. The edge retention is phenomenal. They take a very keen edge. I've gotten a nice clean shave with the hatchet that I have from him. It's really impressive stuff. So here's another one that I can show you. Again, I think you can see the copper more clearly on this one as it's a little bit larger. His knives have a very kind of unique look and feel to them, and not everyone is apt to appreciate it in the same way. In fact, some people look at it and they think it's just kind of not well done. But I think when I look at these knives, they represent so much of the culture of handmade, and maybe like a time past where this kind of thing was the way that things were done. And I can't think of any other knife that we have here in the store that really represents that idea, that image so fully. And in talking to him, you get that same kind of sense. Each of his knives are made kind of one at a time, and so what you'll see is that each one has its own shape and its own feeling and its own body to it. So I have 4 other knives I'm going to show you here, 2 debas and 2 yanagibas, and I hope that they give you a sense for what his knives are like. Here is one of the debas. And his family actually originally came from debaya. They used to make debas only, and that was what they did. I believe his father was an avid fisherman, and that's part of the reason that they had decided to use this high-speed tool steel, is because of the edge retention that it gives you for kind of larger quantities of things that you might be cutting, or just to really hold up to real use. So you can see here the knife. And the grind, the hollow grind that he does, I think is a very, very nice grind. Also, I should mention that he really loves oil stones, which he's the only person I know of the craftsman I've met that just is an avid fan of oil stones. And he, with really crappy oil stones, has gotten a better edge on his knives than I was able to get with the really expensive water stones that I had at the first time that I met him. So it's another testament to skill over tools. Anyways, here's another deba from him. And almost all of his knives come with sayas, I should mention. I didn't show them in this case, but I have another one I can show you in a second. And they do have that same copper cladding in between. What I really like is the style of this kind of false grind up here on the deba. I think it looks so cool. And his deba are a little bit on the thinner side, a lot of them. So they have like a more nimble feeling in hand, a lot like a miyoroshi, but not necessarily all of them are miyoroshi. They're just very, very nice knives in hand, and they have such life and character to them. Here is one of the yanagiba, and you can see again what the saya is like on this. And I'm sorry for the little stickers that we have on it, is how we keep track of them. But this one is about 300 millimeters or so of a yanagiba. And this is the saya that comes with it. So you can see. Here's another kind of unique little knife that's a takobiki shaped or takobiki tipped yanagiba. I didn't know what to call it when I first saw it, but it ended up being just so cool, and I'd never seen anything quite like it. And one of the really nice things is, I'm sure it won't show up on the video, but the copper cladding in between the two layers here has this really squiggly, cool pattern to it. It's just a gorgeous knife in person. I do have a Yanagiba of his in my own personal collection. I've used it a bunch, and I find that it works very well. I don't have to sharpen it very often. It takes a great edge. It holds it very long, and all in all, it's kind of a joy to use. And it's something that every time I pick it up, it makes me feel like I have something historical, something of value, something of significance to a part of Japanese history that I think is amazing and interesting, which is that kind of World War II period during the war and then post-war, where a lot of change took place in Japan, and it's just something that's very special to me. I wish I had better words to describe how cool and unique of an experience it is to have the relationship that we have with this guy, and to see his knives, and to be able to use them and to be able to share that with you guys is something special. Anyways, as always, if you have any questions, you can look us up at JapaneseKnifeImports.com or shoot me an email at john@JapaneseKnifeImports.com. Thanks so much for watching.